and welcome to Walker Tea Review. I'm Jason Walker here with a tea to explore together. Got my spoon, my water, my equipment here, Guan, everything's ready to go. So I'm going to scoop in enough. That's not enough. Need enough to cover the bottom inch to inch and a half of the bottom surface there of my Guan, and that looks pretty good. So my water's been brought to an early boil, started to rumble, didn't really get to a full rolling boil. And a nice gooseneck kettle like this allows you to move the water around so that it swirls, it tucks, it covers, blankets all your tea leaves in water nice and evenly. Actually, I want just a little bit of more water because I want a little bit to rest just above the rim of the lid. And this kettle is also nice because it allows you to give some control. Kind of slowly add that water. And my water's the heat is causing the lid to rattle around a little bit. So while that's steeping, introduce this tea. This is from Yezi tea. This is their Guan master grade. You can get 1 ounce for $11.95. So roughly $12. This is from the Nanhu mountain area of Fujian province, which is in the vicinity of the town of Fuqin. It has some history, historical background, some tea production background to it, to that particular place. You can find out about the particular farmer. His name is Huang Jian, and that is provided on the Yezi tea product page. I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the dry leaf, the wet leaf, and the liquor here. Starting off here with the dry, let me give it a smell. It has fairly typical components of a Guan, of a more lightly roasted Guan, that has the what's the word I'm looking for here? It's the shrub, the mountain laurel type of woody, slightly floral sweetness there. Underneath that, you might detect a little bit of a lilac kind of sweetness there, and say in between the mountain laurel being, or the English laurel being the more dominant, and the lilac, I'd say in between there you might get a bit of a kind of a sweet, toasty graham cracker kind of element in there. Scoop out a few of these leaves and look at them. And on the scale of Guanins from Fujian Guanins that are, say, more of a greener, green-blue, light green over towards the more darkly roasted Guanins. This one is more on the greener. This one's got the green-yellow type colors. These leaves look to be individual leaves. I don't see stems with connecting, say, multiple leaves. And they're crumpled, they're wadded like little, they're not the most tightly wound. These are just kind of fairly crinkled, fairly tight, but not fully spherical. Yeah, there's not a whole lot else I'm going to be able to really comment on, just to say that this is probably one of the more lightly oxidized and more lightly roasted of the Guanins. So let me go ahead now, get my tea ready to decant here. I'm going to angle my lid over to the side a little bit. Index finger holds the lid in place. And pour, nice, smooth pour, just like that. Looks good. Shake out those last few drops. I'm going to look at the liquor in just a moment, but first talk about this wet leaf a little. Nice. First thing that I got was a little bit of, still a bit of a lilac, a gentle floral, a sweet pea flower is probably a better term to use, combined with just underneath that a little bit of a beany, fresh lima bean type of smell. Definitely a sweeter, more than baked roasty type. It's also quite subtle. It's not excessive. Some Guanins can just become overly potent in the bouquet area. In some cases, that type of tea doesn't sit well on the stomach. It's greener. It feels just more, for lack of a better term, it just feels more acidic sitting on the stomach. I'm going to take out a few of these leaves and look at them. A little bit of leaf stuck to the lid there. Pull out a few. Here's one. This leaf is fully unfurled. It's not completely intact, but I'll set it there on the lid. Let's pull out a second one here. This one's fairly well intact. A fairly thick leaf, fairly tough. Not some give. Not. It's on the verge of splitting, tearing, I think. Setting that. Looking at this leaf. Let me hold this up for a minute. Little to no oxidation, obvious. Not a lot of rust, brown. Well, maybe some light tinges here and there along these jagged tooth edge of the leaf there. Compare that to this other leaf I pulled out. You get a bit more darker, more obvious specks of oxidation, deeper browns in those spots or specks. This leaf, like I said, not fully intact. There's a whole, say, quarter portion, nearly a quarter portion missing out of the shape of this leaf here. Probably due to some of the processing, either the heat applied or the rolling that has crinkled and damaged this leaf. Another leaf here, fairly thick middle vein of this leaf there, noticing that. I'm going to set this to the side now and get into the liquor. Let me give this a swirl. You see when you hold that up to the light, it's got a fairly bright green-yellow color. I mean, a lot of these Tiguanins are more towards a yellow, but this one has a tinge more of the green-yellow to it. Aroma's gentle. Still a bit of the lilac type, combined with a little bit of the lima bean and even a tinge of boiled corn seems to be in there. It looks nice and bright, clear in the cup. Give it a sip now. Aromas are gentle, combined with a fairly soft, gentle texture. As I slurped this in, it was something was interesting about this, in that it was almost, as a kid, the pink bubble gum, the big gobs of bubble gum that you can get, has a little powdery coating on it sometimes, a white powdery type of coating. Just as you set that piece of bubble gum on your tongue and you're working the powder has become saturated and is working into your mouth, there's a flash of that bubblegum powdery element in the sips I'm getting as I'm slurping here. Very interesting in that sense. Again, smoothness. It's not a deep syrupy type of texture here. It's not a faint, withering, powdery element. This is mineral water. More than that, it's a bit of almost a light, oily kind of texture. Nice, smooth, gentle. I'm wanting to let this tea cool and see what comes out of it next. So along with that bubblegum powder kind of element, as I work the tea towards the back of my mouth, as the back of my tongue as it's going down to my throat. You get some of that sweet pea flower element there, maybe a little bit of lilac there. So the toasty graham cracker type aspect has dropped off, so that I get more of the lighter, the florals, the sweetness again, but not excessive. Aftertaste kind of still lingers around that that bubble gum, that lilac, that coating again, a thick, rich mineral water, and maybe the best way to say that. Stays on the tongue, nice smooth feeling there. I'll add just a little bit more because I want this to kind of cool and see what happens as this temperature drops some. Still the same. I'm looking for any of that. Some Tijuanans are sought after for their kind of sour bite. This one's not sour. This one's quite rounded, smooth, consistent in that, like I said, lightly floral and not excessively floral sweetness there. Looking at this tea, this is a tea that is like someone who knows fashion and knows how to pick that one thing. Maybe has a very apparently subdued type of appearance, and yet there's one element that just stands out, that is well chosen within that ensemble. That's something that's happening here. This one doesn't just jump out and say, "Look at me, I'm good." This is one that you sit down and draws your attention to say, take a moment and appreciate what's here. Good texture, extended aftertastes and textures. So I would give this one, probably give this one a 91. Some nice components to this tea. So if you want to know more about teas, if you want to learn and read more and discover more about teas, also check out walkerteareview.com. The subscription area, there is members only content where you can find out and get an even deeper understanding of teas and water and teaware and lots of things that are surrounding tea.